Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It is Wednesday, the 15th of March, and I'm joined by Mr. Jesse Schul and Sean Higgs. I'm Ross Benjamin. We got 3 free winners in the NCAA Tournament on Friday, and without further ado, I'll start with you, my friend Jesse Schul. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Broke out the brooms last night. I don't put on the yellow suit unless it's 3 games. So it was just 2-0 night. No yellow suit today.
Both NCAA tournament games, or do you have an NCAA tournament pick?
No, I had an NIT and a hockey game.
Very good. So again, folks, Jesse went 8-0 in the first round last year in the NCAA tournament. So keep that in mind. You could find him at jesseschul.com. Sean Higgs of picksandparleys.net. One of the finest handicappers in the country as well. Sean, how are you, my friend?
All right, no sweep for me. I had my typical what I've been having the last couple weeks. A 3-3 night there. That's good. We start off with Hofstra doggy outright, and we close it with Eastern Washington doggy outright. But in between, it was just a middling mess of Toledo. I had a good number at 8.5 at opener. Yeah, they lose. And
they lose by 10. Yeah, I mean, it's a
Liberty was easy. Yale was a loser. Mississippi
State, Liberty to me, Sean, it was just, how is it? They opened at 1.5 in their 4. To me, they were giving you the winner. I mean, I don't know what other way you could. I know that some people don't think the way I do, but I see a line like that that's so fishy. Look, at Villanova was a down year, right?
Yeah.
New coaching staff, not an NCAA tournament team, but still, they're Villanova. They play in the Big East. They have a brand name. You're going on the road to Liberty. Liberty's not used to hosting teams of that caliber.
That's a hornet's
nest. And then they're a 4-point favorite.
Yeah.
Beside it, so somebody knows something. It went from 1.5 to 4. Yep. So, and Liberty's a good team too.
Those are schools. I mean, I think Jesse will agree. When you have small, I like Hofstra yesterday, a smaller tri-state area school with Rutgers. You don't think they're gonna be pumped up to go and play at Rutgers?
Yeah. Well,
Eastern Washington, like Irvine, versus Oregon, like Pac-12.
Yep.
Big West, or your MAC versus. It's like MAC versus Big Ten. Like that's like a football. I saw that Toledo. I'm like, this is like early September college football. I'm loving a MAC team getting like a small little number versus a middling team. I mean, those are just auto plays.
Right. In terms of Rutgers, I've always been a proponent, Jesse, that if a team gets snubbed for the NCAA tournament, which Rutgers was one of the teams that you can make a case deserved to be there, they were on the fence. But they could have been there, and with a little bit of change in direction from the committee. But it is what it is. But I always say, if you're going to catch one of those teams that got snubbed, go against them in the first round, because usually they're not pumped up to play. They're disappointed they didn't make the tournament. They seem to get dangerous if they can get by their first round game. But if you go through the history, and again, there's no way to quantify this, because who could put a category on the teams that got snubbed? It's a broad opinion base, correct? But what do you think, Jesse, in terms of that?
I was reading this morning that North Carolina's decision to decline the invitation to the NIT was made by the players. Parents of the players said that they let the players decide they didn't want to play. You'd have to suspect that teams like Rutgers and these other bubble teams, similar, that the players probably, this isn't what they want to be playing for. They don't want to be in the NIT. They want to be in the big tournament, which is why I gave out Vandy as my pick, because I thought this is a team that probably, they're coming in with a lot of momentum. They didn't really have a case to think they deserve to be in the tournament. That being said, they're playing well. I think this is where they want to be. It's a good spot for them. That's why I gave out Vandy as my pick.
Yeah, I mean, that was a team that you could make a case got snubbed as well. I mean, they finished the year strong, but it's a whole different scenario with Vandy. Vandy hasn't had a lot of success in recent years. And they're the type of team to say, okay, you don't want us in the NCAA, we're going to wipe through this NIT.
And they should be over the moon if they end up winning the NIT. Whereas Rutgers, I don't think gives a crap.
No, absolutely not. They were top.
You don't have to worry about it now.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we got 3 games we're going to cover. And the first one, Sean is going to look at Florida Atlantic and Memphis. Right now, Memphis is a 1.5 point favorite. and the total is 153. Again, we're talking about an AAC team versus a Conference USA team, but what a year FAU's had. They're in the top 25. They're no joke. This is a tough one for me, Sean. Maybe you can give me some clarity.
Yeah, and I got to say, I got a lot of games bet for the NCAA tournament. This is not one of them. This is a tricky one for me. I mean, you have, again, you mentioned them coming out of the CUSA 31-3. And this is, they lost to Mid Tennessee by 4, UAB by 9, and Mississippi as a double digit. They, kind of got run out there.
Yeah.
And you want to jump on you look at the FAU and you're like, I'm going to jump on the Owls. Look at this. It's a short line. It's 8-9 game. It's basically a pick 'em, right? Those are kind of games you expect out of an 8-9. But Memphis is a team much like, I want to say, Alabama or a Texas or any kind of team that comes out of a big power conference. You're coming in on a win streak. You're beat decent competition. That's a team I kind of want to avoid. But as I think you said, the first round matchups for these, whether it's the NIT or NCAA, this is where a team could get a little slipped up a bit. You're excited, but you're nervous. You think you can just beat a team based on talent and name brand. And Memphis, 15-4 run for them. Couple losses at Houston. Tulane was a 19-win team. They lost that on the road. They lost at UCF on the road. That was an overtime game. Sidewise, I'm going to leave Memphis. But I'll tell you what here for the show. I'm going under this 153. Okay. And it's more I mentioned, as I said, and you said, and I think Jess will agree, coming out this first game, you're going to feel the team out. You're going to be like, we're going to try to put on a show because you're Memphis and you're a lowly CUSA team, but, you're a little too pumped up. You're missing shots. And not to get into like defensive efficiencies and stuff like that, but FAU's pretty good in the metrics, all that kind of stuff. When they throw all those numbers at you through your KenPom ratings and stuff, that's a good defensive squad. Memphis, I don't love the coach, and you can see them losing. They're 23-8, so they can lose some games. And I'm gonna go under here. I have 153 seems a little high. FAU, yeah, they're gonna be pumped to be there. They got nothing to lose. But let's be honest, the odds makers say this is a pick 'em.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna it's a 2 now, right? It's +2. It went from a 1 to a +2. Yeah. To me, I'm just gonna go under the 153.5. That'll, I think, be a safe play for me again. Just because they're all out there. There's 32 games Thursday, Friday. You don't have to bet every 32 of them.
No,
or 64 of totals, added totals. I mean,
this is
you
one.
Pass on one if you think it's a little tough. At least I do. I don't know about you guys. I'm sure you.
No,
I know Jesse will. If I have 20, Jesse's gonna have 4. He's gonna be a little more selective. So
yeah, and I'm somewhere in between. But Florida Atlantic is a team that's dangerous. And
this is just a bet. Like, really, this matchup, I would have loved to play on both of these teams.
Yeah,
coming in. Like, I mean, Florida Atlantic's a hot team, right? 31 wins. They have 3 losses. I don't care who they lost to or who they played. You lose 3 times in 34 games, and you put these two together. The committee. You wanted to rant before the show? Here we go. This is the rant. The committee and their nonsense. They just love. Oh, let's put Charleston and San Diego State together. Like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. Like, they just, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm going to mute myself because it's just frustrating.
That's a 5-12 matchup, but
yeah, but still, it's like good teams you want to play with, like the smaller kind of schools.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not sure where you're going with the Charleston, San Diego State, or with the committee.
I'm just saying, I mean, Charleston was another hot little team you want to play on. Right. San Diego State's a nice little, and you put them together. It's not like they're not putting Charleston up against a whoever. A good, it's another smaller conference is what I should say. It's like, let's put the small conferences together. We got to make sure we can clear a path for all the big schools.
Yeah, let's not forget, San Diego State comes from a conference, the Mountain West. It has 4 NCAA tournament teams this year.
Finally.
So it's not like they played a tough non-conference schedule, and they also played a tough in-conference schedule. And one of the teams that didn't make it, New Mexico, they faltered down the stretch, but that's a team that's could score, and it's going to be very tough on their home court. Although I don't really like them in their NIT game tonight against Utah Valley State. I think that's an upset waiting to happen. But in any event, Jesse, you're going to be covering USC and Michigan State right now. Michigan State's a 2-point favorite, and the total is 137.5. What you got for us on this one, buddy?
Well, first of all, the Memphis FAU game, I'm going to agree with Sean. I'd have to lean towards Memphis, and I don't like the matchup. like Sean said, you'd like to see a more interesting matchup for FAU, but at the end of the day, with a pick'em line close enough to a pick'em, I got to go with Memphis. I mean, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. I know who Memphis is. I know who they played. I've seen them down the stretch. FAU, smaller conference. I'm not as familiar. I have a ton of respect for teams like that, but not unless they're getting a few points.
Yeah.
They got to be getting some points.
Yeah.
As for my game, USC, Michigan State, again, I'm going to take a page out of Sean's book and I'm going to focus on the total. It's an early game played in a hockey arena. The total is 137.5. I like the under. Both teams actually are pretty decent at three-point shooting, about average in their conference, but both teams attempt a very few amount of three-point shots. They both attempt about 18 three-point attempts per game, which ranks near the bottom of their respective conferences. Michigan State's ninth in the Big Ten in scoring, averaging just over 70 points per game. The metrics, the trends, all the real fancy stuff, none of it really adds up to anything. It's more of a gut feeling in the first round of the tournament at a neutral site for both these teams. Like Sean said, feeling each other out, a little bit of nerves, I expect the shooting to be a little off, and I like the under here. The under is 9-3 in the Trojans' last 12 at a neutral site, and they lost their first round tournament matchup last year by a score of 68-66 versus Miami, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar score here in this game.
Yeah. So you're going under the total of 137.5, and just a refresh here, Sean likes the Florida Atlantic and Memphis game to go under 153. Jesse likes USC and Michigan State under 137.5. Tom Izzo in the NCAA tournament, Sean. He's got a proven track record. You got to have the players. Obviously, they're an NCAA tournament team, but this is another tough one for me. I'm going to definitely stay away from the side here. Andy Enfeld, the coach of USC. You remember the old Florida Gulf Coast team that got to the Sweet 16? He was the head coach at that time, and he took that
like Dunk
run.
City back in the day, right?
He took that run with Florida Gulf Coast, and he turned it into a job at USC. So any thoughts on Jesse's pick?
I like it. He hasn't done a bad job. I mean, it's kind of tough when you're out there competing against UCLA to try to get recruits to town. I mean, but I agree with you under, because it's Izzo. Obviously name brand, I'm going to lean that way. And this is another kind of short line, but I like the under as well. These are two, 20-10 type teams. They've obviously played ugly ball because you have 10 losses, and USC has been an under train too.
Yeah.
Why not go under? I mean, again, this again, you have like the Kennesaw game. You have a couple games you can look at and be like, oh, I want sides. Sometimes you don't have to play the sides.
Yeah.
And I mean, I lean a little Michigan State because of Izzo, but I like the under in this matchup as well.
Yeah. Well, I agree with both of you guys on the assessment of this game. The first one, I'm just, even with the total, I have no strong opinion, not even a lean. So I would tend to agree with whatever my buddy Sean picked on that game, and both of these guys like USC and Michigan State under the total 137.5. And
let me ask it real fast, guys. I know. So you said, even Jesse said, you don't have strong leans. I think people turn on a show and think we're just gonna give out strong sides on everything. Oh, we love this side. It doesn't always work that way, and it's weird that sometimes we all agree on not having a strong side on something. But that should tell you, if you have 100 years in front of you, guys who've been betting games, and they're like, you know what, that's this one I'm just gonna sit back and kind of not really play on. It's
perhaps sometimes the best advice is this is a game that you don't want to play a side on, the best bet you ever made might be the bet you didn't place.
Exactly right, Jesse. I agree with that 100%.
Because it's rare we all come in and be like, well, I don't like that. Somebody's gonna be like, you know what, I kind of love this one side. And yet here we are, 2 games in and 4 for 4, 2 sides, 2 totals. We have 2 no sides for me and Jesse, 2 no sides. We like the totals. You agreed with us, and now let's just see. I mean, this is gonna be an odd show if we all just have nothing to say about all three
Yeah,
games. Like a
well,
strong
we
play.
disagree on occasion, right, guys? So I
Yeah.
mean, and that's healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's.
And
I mean, usually if I don't like something on something, one of you guys would have a sadder total, or
Yeah.
vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I really like this one for this reason. That just goes to show you, folks. A couple games doesn't mean they're bettable.
No,
At least in our eyes. Someone's going to
you
have
know,
a lock on
starting
it.
Thursday, you're going to have 32 games between Thursday and Friday, and you don't have to bet every one of them, folks. Look at Jesse went 8-0 in the first round last year, which means he made 8 plays out of the 32 games in the first round. You're selective. Now, Sean is a volume handicapper, and he trusts himself to hit 54, 55%. And when you're a volume handicapper, that will make you a ton of money over the course of the season. Okay. So I know a lot of you are frowning on that at 54, 55%. I'm not saying that he doesn't hit higher, because he certainly did during the NFL season. And I'm pretty sure he did last college basketball season, if I recollect correctly.
Yeah.
So everybody's got a different style, but one thing that we all have in common is we always emphasize proper money management. That's the key, folks, right there. Have a bankroll, a betting bankroll. Don't exceed 5% on any one bet. And there you go. Now I'm going to look at Providence and Kentucky because we're running short on time. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Right now, Kentucky's a 4-point favorite, 144.5. If this game was played 3 weeks ago, I would love Providence getting 4. They wouldn't be getting 4 3 weeks ago, but a lot has changed between then and now. And this is a Providence team that finished terribly. I mean, 0-3 straight up in ATS in their last 3, including a 24-point home loss to Seton Hall. What even concerns me more is their defensive play over their last 5 games. They allowed 80.8 points per game, 52.3% shooting, and opponents have shot 46.2% from beyond the 3-point line in Providence's last 5 games, in addition to their -6 rebounds per game during that course of time. And that spells trouble against a Kentucky team that over their last 5, they're a +15 rebounds per game in their last 5 games. So I just think Kentucky's going to have a decided edge, not only on the boards, but specifically what I look at is the offensive glass. They're going to get plenty of second chance opportunities. And this Kentucky team, they go 5-2 in their last 7. Nothing spectacular. Both of their losses come to Vandy, which Jesse pointed out how good Vandy is. And the 4 wins out of those 5 came against NCAA tournament teams. They beat Auburn, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. So I'm going to take Kentucky here, guys. I'm going to lay the 4 against a struggling Providence team. I just think they're going to dominate the glass. And Providence, I just don't see them turning in a stellar defensive effort, when you look at their numbers in the recent games and in the recent slide. So, Jesse, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's disappointing what happened to Providence because they've been a real moneymaker for me all season long. And last year, for whatever reason, bettors and bookmakers don't respect Providence a lot. They cashed in last year, and this year for most of the season, they were actually pretty good. And then just at the end of the year, I can't put my finger on why it happened, but you're absolutely right. They didn't finish strong, so
yeah,
I wouldn't want to have them against Kentucky.
Sean, Ed Cooley's a pretty good head coach, very underrated in my opinion. That's the head coach of Providence, but can he find answers here with his team that right now is not defending well and struggled over their last 3 games?
Yeah, right. 4, as you mentioned, lost 4 out of 5, and Providence with him, nice little. They've covered, I think, 18 or 14, or 18 and 14 they are covering on the year. But here, I'm on Kentucky. I bet them. I'm not. I think people are gonna look at Providence like, oh, you got to take them. They're a nice little dog here. They're playing bad coming in, and like we mentioned, Vandy, Jesse did how they've been playing down the stretch. Sometimes a team's got your number a little bit.
Number, yeah. Yeah.
So they nabbed them. Give me Kentucky and come on.
Yeah.
Let's go. 4? What's it? 4? 3.5? 4?
Yeah,
I bet them
4.
already.
Yeah.
Friday I got these guys
You
bet
can
myself.
find a
so.
3.5 out there, but I just went with a consensus line from Wager Talk, and Kentucky was a 4. But if you shop around, you may be able to catch a 3.5. I don't see this line. I don't want to project anything here in this regard, but you might get some action on Providence because they look like an inviting dog, but those are from people that really aren't looking inside the numbers and seeing what's going on of late. They're just going on reputation. Kentucky isn't the Kentucky of past years, but they're still pretty good.
Calipari gets talent. They usually start slow. This is when you want to bet Kentucky when they're like a 3-point fave. When you're gonna be shocked when they're in like the Elite 8 or something. No, it won't shock anybody. Like, oh, Kentucky's here. Here come the Blue Bloods. Look at this out of nowhere. It's a run. It's a run. You got freaking 6 guys. Probably half your team's going to the NBA.
I talked about that on our show the other day. And if you look at the list of national champions, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just a whole list of Duke and Kentucky and North Carolina and UCLA, essentially.
Blue Bloods. Yep, the Blue Bloods of college.
There's no mid-majors on the list. Probably the only team that you wouldn't call a blue blood would maybe be UNLV in the 80s.
Yeah. And, we saw Butler make a run to the Final Four 2 years in a row. We saw George Mason get to the Final Four. We saw a South Carolina team.
Loyola Chicago,
South Carolina when Frank Martin first got there. He's since been fired. So any event, Jesse, tell the folks what you have going on today and what you might have coming up in the next couple of days in the NCAA tournament.
Well, as you already mentioned, Ross, 8-0 last year in the first round. I've got 8 plays locked and loaded, ready to go. You can catch me at Jesse Shule on Twitter, Jesse Shule Picks on YouTube, and come see me at jesseshule.com, and you'll be glad that you did.
jesseshule.com. They call him Mr. Perfect for a reason. So the Iceman is cometh. And so here we go with Sean Higgs. Sean, tell the folks how many thousand plays you have over the next couple of days.
Coming into yesterday's first round of the NIT, 33 plays I had lined up for I got a 7-pack today. I got 13 on Thursday and 7 on Friday.
Beautiful.
And it's weird. I don't know. I'm a volume guy, and we're not going crazy. It's not like we got like 10,000 on every single game. No, we're load mounts, $150, $300. It's been a bumpy. I mentioned 3-3. I've been on a 3-3 run basically since January 16th. Every day has been the split. So I'm not saying not that I'm due for a hot streak or due for a bad streak. The ball's not bouncing, Ross. We say when we win, I say when we always break. Well, the NFL. Well, NFL's gone. College basketball's been a literal 50-50 up and down run for me. But I got a lot of games posted. You can find them on Picks and Parlays, Winning Free Picks, where I do my daily midday money show. There's late night money show at 12 noon Eastern, and it's at midnight, or vice versa for Jesse. Mr. Sean Higgs on Twitter. You want to give me a follow? And that's that. I'm excited. Again, a couple tough losses last night. Eventually, that ball's going to go in for me. It has to. I can't have a 75% run on these little 2-point and half-point losses. If I couldn't be silly about it now, Ross, I'd be like breaking things because you have to. Like, are you kidding me? Like the ball has to go in one time. Yeah. Or 30 times for me, I guess.
Well, Sean, I think we all know this as pros. You don't chase money that's already been won. So buying the hot handicapper is often the worst thing. And I'm saying that as the hot handicapper. The money's been made. We're all starting from scratch as of today.
Every day is a new day.
And the guy who's been struggling for a while, not that he's due, but he might be due. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I know you guys have encountered this where you go on tremendous runs, 32-10, 34-17, whatever the case may be. I'm being hypothetical here. And all of a sudden the sales start pouring in. But you know as well as I do that those 67-70% runs over a 3-week period of time are not sustainable. And the major mistake I believe the customers make or subscribers make is they're looking for that run and then they jump in and the guy cools off. What I would suggest is when you need to find guys with a winning track record. And when I say that, guys who, when you look at their resume, have had top 10 finishes several times over the last 20 years, for example. Those are the guys you want to follow because it's a grind, folks. And if you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, none of us are your guys. So just keep that in mind. You can find me at rbwins.com, rbwins.com, 6-2 with my last 8, 10-5 with my last 15 in college basketball totals. I lost last night with the college basketball total as I had the Mississippi State game over 69 points at the half. They scored 50 in the second half. Go figure. Hopefully the rest of the NCAA tournament games are much better than that one last night. Even though it was a 1-point game, it was about as boring a 1-point game as you can possibly see. But anyway, folks, you can find me at rbwins.com. I do guarantee my picks. So if you don't make a profit on a package or a subscription or a just a single game purchase, I will credit your account the exact amount of your purchase price. You could use that any which way you like at any time. So rbwins.com, jesseshul.com, picksandparleys.net for Mr. Sean Higgs. Jesse has his own YouTube channel, and Sean has a fantastic podcast as well. Pretty soon we're going to be seeing Sean. We're going to be seeing live from Thailand, Jesse Shul. So, in any event, until the next time, folks, I'd like to wish each and every one of you, we like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. For Jesse, Sean, and Ross, take care and God bless, folks.